Hey guys, welcome back to the Green Bag Voyage podcast. I'm your host, Shrevin, and with me is Joel.
Hello, guys. And we also have a special guest.
Hello.
Oh yes, Mr. Varun Koda has replaced Krishna Navala for this week. So let's get it started, shall we? And we move on to our favorite topic on this podcast, and that's China. And this time, it's related to the supply chain in China, and regarding one of their biggest ports. It's called the Yantian, and it was shut down because of a COVID-19 outbreak a couple weeks ago. Now, this port happens to manufacture about 90% of the world's electronics. Yeah, so the impact is quite major. They're saying the global economy, at least for shipping manufacturers, is going to decrease by about 6 to 7% already. And other fallouts could be like rise in price of goods. We've seen some computers starting to increase its prices, specifically in Dell. And this is really not good, especially as inflation continues to increase. But I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on not really about how this is affecting the economy, but just more of why is China doing this again?
Well, looks like it was because of a COVID outbreak, right? So, that's
but
pretty
like
surprising.
they could have contained it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's pretty hard to say. It happens. But the important thing is, like, it's apparently, the disruption's larger than the Suez, when the ship got blocked.
Suez Canal.
Yeah, when the ship blocked the canal. So this is having
Evergreen,
a much
right?
bigger. Yeah, I believe it was, right? That was the ship name, Evergreen or something.
Yep. The
Evergreen, yeah.
Yeah, so we already had like this. We already had a shortage of these semiconductors and electronics, right? And leading into that, we now have this disruption based on COVID, and it looks like we're gonna have a significant price rise in a lot of electronics.
Yes, I concur. I mean, but to clarify some things, the semiconductor crisis was mainly because TSM, the main producer of many semiconductors, got mismanaged with the amount of orders that were pushed in by both the auto industry, since the auto industry had to reduce their orders for chips in their cars because not many people are actually buying cars due to COVID. So that caused some problems because now all of a sudden the auto industry now wants cars because restrictions are lifting up, and all of that demand and a lack of manufacturing tools and everything else has led to that huge shortage that we are going right now. So the semiconductor thing really isn't heavily dependent on China. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, but electronics coming out of it, so you got copper wires, you have mainly just wires that are coming out of China. That's the main thing that, the rest of the world does need.
Right. Rare metals.
Yeah, semiconductors are important, but like you need something to transist it with, and that's wires.
Right. So TSM, semiconductors are basically a group of transistors, right? But there's parts to make those, and that's when China exports 90% of that product. There's going to be even more demand and a lower supply, right? So there's going to be a lot of price increases.
I mean, it's kind of insane how many issues of supply chain have just kind of rattled on top of each other.
Yeah, it's like common occurrence now. There's always like every month, there's always something happening regarding some disruption in the global trade.
A lot of these issues.
Yeah,
have been...
and
sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, I was just going to mention that some of the companies, not even, these electronic companies, but like FedEx, UPS, and all that, they've added surcharges onto their packagings to, one, kind of take advantage of this, but two, just because the demand is so high that they don't really know where they can ship it to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that $100 billion that Biden, or what was it? That 100 billion review channel, whatever it was that Biden administered.
Production here domestically.
Yeah, so I don't know if that will include China as well and how much of an impact they have on our economy. Because, I mean, this is quite huge. This is bigger than the Suez Canal. I'm surprised it's not talked about more often.
Yeah. Well, going back to that Biden thing, right? It all comes back to our dependence on China, and we need to try to cut those ties. So Biden has to really push on top of all the spending he's already doing. I mean, this is going to be another. It's definitely not going to be $100 billion project. It's going to cost even more. And I would definitely like to see, in his first term, or even if his second term, if he gets elected, to try to bring back some of the manufacturing to the U.S. Because eventually China will become an economic superiority, and we need to catch up.
Yep. Varun, any last thoughts from you?
To be honest here, a lot of these issues were something that was prevalent throughout history. It's just that COVID's kind of really shown the weak links in the chain, and we're all suffering because of this. The United States has relied way too heavily on China in the past, and because of that reliance, we're now a bit at their mercy when there's an issue of supply chains, like both of you guys have mentioned.
All right. I think that's a good way to end it. I think we can move on to something else that the U.S. relies heavily on, and that is Twitter, clickbait, and fake news. We start this week with the Ronaldo story. So for those viewers who don't know, there's been rumors on the web that Ronaldo, in his press conference, when he switched out a Coca-Cola bottle for a goddamn water bottle to rehydrate himself, he dropped Coca-Cola stock by $4 billion at open. The reality is, Coca-Cola stock was already down $4 billion, and the press conference happened 30 minutes after. So, yeah, it's kind of insane how, clickbait has taken a turn towards these retail investors now, where, people just want to see what the next big news is coming out of the investing world.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, even that, the news, based on, what, pretty sure a lot of, 50% of the news websites are posting and talking about this. I'm pretty sure CNN was even talking about this. That could have even pushed, I think that even pushed the Coca-Cola stock down further. So
yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, the time difference has actually led to these writers typing in this and publishing it and causing even more downfall for the stock.
I bet they had shorts
I
on
don't
this.
know. I don't know if you guys... do you guys know Yes Theory? A channel on YouTube?
I might have seen some of their videos.
There was a Will Smith bungee jumping kind of a challenge
Oh,
that they
yes.
kind of created.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a video that they did where they wanted to see how far they could take this fake news to. And what they did was they found a Justin Bieber lookalike.
Mm-hmm.
And they took him to a park, dressed him up, found a nice hairstyle that all worked for him, and they made him eat a burrito sideways. And then they just took pictures of that. And they posted it on, I think, Reddit, and it just blew up from there. Within the next 2 days, it was all over, the Good Morning America, you got your TMZ, ABC News, and all those sites were covering it, E! News, and everyone was covering it. And what no one thought to think was how do we truly know if this is legitimate? And this was 4 years ago or something. Imagine how bad it's become now, where small and quick articles like this just spread wildly. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it's definitely. It was pretty. So when I think I even shared some screenshot about this too, and I actually thought that he was the one who Cristiano dropped the stock, and then and after you told me about it, then I was like, wait, what? And I searched up, and yeah, it's pretty surprising.
Yeah, always got to make sure you know where the source is coming from before sharing anything. All right.
I mean, like,
I think that's my rant.
it seems pretty weird that people would attribute him, like an athlete, to not drink Coca-Cola to a stock dropping. I, I just feel like that's just a crazy coincidence, and I looked into it. And I'm like, oh, there was a steady decline before, as Sheldon mentioned, but to like as he mentioned earlier, like a lot of people want the clickbait so that they could get the views, they could get the reshares, likes, and everything that, because you know what, at the end it sells, and that's kind of disgusting.
Yeah, I mean the headline is really like, you never see something like this, right? Some guy dropping, or not some guy, but this athlete alone taking out $4 billion worth of market cap from a very prominent company, and you just want to click on that headline and read about it. So I don't know I don't think this was intentional, but it's definitely like, it's kind of crazy to see like millions of people immediately believe that and go on it for a few days and not look back at the stock and go in and see like, oh wait, this doesn't make sense, right? And to have the continued sell-off, which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just keeps on coming worse and worse.
Well,
all right.
Yeah.
I think that's my rant done for the day, at least, on fake news. Probably not the last one that I'll do on it, but I think it's time for us to move on and talk about something that I guess hits closer to us for home than most other people. So, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously on Monday that NCAA limits on compensating college students violates the U.S. antitrust law. So this decision upheld the lower court rulings for years, and yeah, basically what's happening now is that the NCAA must allow colleges to recruit athletes by offering them additional compensation, benefits, as long as they're tied to education, of course. But brand deals can come to them, and who knows, we might even get some weird combination of a McDonald's meal coming from a college team soon enough.
This is all great news, man. I mean,
this is really good news for the athletes. They've been screwed over by the NAAC for a long time.
NCAA.
NCAA.
Colleges, right?
And colleges, like they play almost at a professional level, and they barely see a cent from that. And like a lot of the colleges make lots of money out of from them, but the athletes themselves don't actually ever get paid. So it's a good win overall, honestly.
Right. I mean, it's like what, 2-3 years of your life just playing for this university, and then only 1 or 2% of that pool gets drafted into the NBA. So, and these guys are left off. Of course, a free college education is paramount for these guys, but to not be able to compensate it on getting a salary or getting some brand deals like Shravan mentioned, that should definitely be included, right? So it's a really good move, or really good ruling by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hear stories about college students or college athletes, and they'd have to wake up at 5 a.m. for practice, workout, whatever it is, and then they work out, go to class. Yeah, they go to class, then come back and work out, go to class again, and then maybe they'll have something afterwards, maybe studying plays, memorizing stuff, and then they still have to study for their classes. So I mean, it leaves them no time for them to earn any money on their own, especially some of the poorer students out there who are fortunate enough in the first place to go to a good college, and then they don't even get the opportunity to really shine because they're just trying to survive at that point. But yeah, I think this is a surprising decision, but I thought by the Supreme Court to rule unanimously against this. It's kind of odd to see Brett Kavanaugh especially kind of steer away from the sort of Trumpian ideals and sort of, put more emphasis on equality and helping out the sort of minorities, which is something I like to see.
Yeah, it's not just Kavanaugh, right? I mean, the Supreme Court, there's a conservative majority, right? I think it's like 6-3. So yeah, it's pretty good on the Supreme Court to pass something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
really
thought
surprising that they passed it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's been some other like decisions the Supreme Court has made that I'm kind of surprised on, considering the fact that they are a conservative majority. But like it goes to show that, you know, the judges there, once they get in the position, they don't really have to sort of vote for anyone. They can't really be blackmailed unless they do something really horrific.
Right. Like, even like back in Trump's presidency, right, when coming to the end, when he was filing those lawsuits, he had already 3 appointees in the Supreme Court, and they still blocked his efforts to overturn certain state counting. So it just shows that, you know, even if a polarizing person like Trump can put certain people in the Supreme Court, they're not really going to back him, and they will uphold the law, right? So and to see them pass, you know, or to uphold things like this, it's really good on U.S. You know, like their support for equality and upholding the law.
Yeah, like they upheld I think the Affordable Care Act earlier this month as well.
Yeah, like John
I'm
Roberts.
also super surprised about that one.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing that for a long time too. John
Who,
Roberts.
Kavanaugh?
No, the Chief Justice John Roberts. Like he blocked it back then too.
So yeah, there's been quite, you know, good comings from the Supreme Court. So that's promising to see for the future, especially with all these abortion laws coming to fruition.
Yep.
I think
from
it'll be key
Texas.
for that. Oh yeah, yeah. Did you know actually? I don't know if it was today or yesterday. The governor there, I forgot his name, but he blocked a law that basically, you know, makes it a crime to abuse your animal. So he
What?
blocked that law.
Why?
Yeah. I don't know, fam.
That seems like
Man's
such a
insane.
normal law to pass.
And he blocked it.
I mean, look, even it's funny, like we say that's, you know, normal thing to pass. Like even today, right? The Senate Republicans blocked this voting rights bill that helped minorities get to get. It's not about like minorities don't have access to voting or don't have voting rights. It's just that they don't have access to going to certain places to vote, right? And this bill was trying to change that, and Senate Republicans blocked it. It's such an obvious bill, right? But they blocked it because of super PACs and, you know, people behind them that are backing them with money and telling them not to vote for this and that, right? So
Actually,
Yeah.
I wanted to know why did they need 60 votes to pass that?
I think that's
Don't
usually
they
how.
not have a...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I think it's usually a 60-40, right, in the Senate. For
Is it usually? I thought that was only for filibuster.
No, I think it's 60-40 for bills like this, or for a certain bill. Like I'm not really into. I don't really know about, you know, legislative, rulings, but I'm pretty sure like most of the like prominent votes I've seen usually are 60-40. You have to have a 60 majority. Like even like the Trump one, right? You have to have a 60-40 or something.
Okay. Okay. All right. I guess let's move on to some other news. We can go on to big tech. I think we can start off with Facebook. They are closing in on the $1 trillion mark, I think. What was it, about 40? You were saying $40 billion away from it?
Yeah, they're sitting at about $960 billion market cap right now.
Yeah. So wouldn't be surprised if they reach that before the end of the summer.
Should happen easily. Because I think
Yeah.
there's like a statistic I saw today. In the first year of presidents, the July, I think April is the best month for the stock market and July is the second best. So if this year is going to follow that, then we should see a good rally in the stock market for July, and Facebook should definitely benefit from that and break the 1 trillion.
Okay.
Milestone.
And I don't know if you've seen this, Varun. I know I've shown Joel this before, but Mark Zuckerberg has been selling anywhere between, I believe it was 12.5 million at the start, and now it's increased to around $25 million of Facebook stock per day since mid-January.
Why
or
is
late
he
January.
doing that?
Every day, fam, on the dot, been selling within that range.
What,
So yeah, it's close to like $3 billion he's sold in stock.
is
this
he
year
trying to
alone.
exit the company? Like, is this his...
I mean,
He's selling.
I don't think so.
He's selling so there's in basic structure, right? There's many shares that are in a company. So you have Class A, Class B, and so on and so forth. There's voting rights, and then you obviously have the equity shares, right? So he's been selling Class B shares, which is
No, it's Class A. Class B wouldn't be filed with the SEC. It would only be Class A that'd be filed.
So Class B is the voting, or Class A is the equity, right?
No. Class A is what's shown on the stock market. That's what
Oh, right,
investors
right,
can invest
right.
in and
So-
all that. So that's what will be shown if Mark Zuckerberg sells with those shares in the Class A. That's what he has to file with the SEC.
Okay, so I got it mixed up. So he's not selling his Class B; he's selling Class A. So
No, he's selling the Class A. He's selling whatever is on the stock market right now.
right. So he's not really trying to get out of the company. He still has his voting rights.
No.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he has insane voting rights. He is the majority, right?
Yeah.
Still.
So
Yeah.
what I see from this as having 20% of Facebook is Facebook went
Hey,
from
whoa, rephrase that. My man
You're
said 20.
talking
You have
about-
20% of Facebook.
I mean in
Damn,
my
son,
portfolio.
I didn't realize you were a big spender right there. Are you secretly Mark Zuckerberg's adopted
20
child?
It's
He's
def-
Peter Thiel.
It's
fan.
definitely
Oh shit.
my
Damn.
holding is definitely the 0.00000020.
Can we have a brief blurb here saying that we're not professionals and we are not making any advice here? Don't want to get the SEC on my ass ever.
What?
Buy the dip, boys.
So what I see for what he's doing is so Facebook went from like 150 billion market cap to now 900 billion, right? So he's slowly, so like remember when Warren Buffett he was selling like a lot of Apple shares because it was getting too much exposure in his portfolio. It's not like he doesn't like the share, he doesn't like Apple. It's just that he's cutting down based on the profits. So that's what I see with what Zuckerberg's doing with his it's been what, sixfold since COVID, and it makes sense for him to.
Well, I don't know about sixfold. I think it's just been twofold.
Well, at the lowest in April, I think it was sitting around 150 to 200 billion. So that would be like fourfold, I guess.
No, it was only $150 at the bottom.
No, but the market cap was very low.
It's only half of what it is now, or like just under half.
Oh,
Probably
okay.
around
Oh yeah,
400
okay. So
billion,
then it's
I'd
not
say.
150. Then it's I probably misread the share price. So yeah, then probably twofold, which is still insane, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
going up almost $500 billion in market cap. So it makes sense for him to sell. I mean, if it's $3 billion, he still has like what, 27 or $28 billion worth of the stock. So it makes sense for him to sell. And we're coming to $1 trillion market cap, and you're obviously going to have some investors question like, is Facebook really worth $1 trillion when they're not even doing $100 billion in revenue, right? So we could probably see some correction happen. So it makes sense for him to sell shares of Facebook, right?
I'm actually quite curious. How has the market reacted to him selling the shares? Has Facebook stock gone down
It's going
a
up,
bit,
bro.
or is it just
It's been
still
quiet.
going up? That is
Like-
surprising.
Yeah. Like Joel, who is an avid Facebook holder, as he said, didn't even know that Zuckerberg was shelling until I told him this week. So,
That is.
I mean, yeah, the market's definitely not, placing too much bets on this.
Well, there's also that. I mean, if we're also gonna talk about slight tangent, do you mind?
Yeah.
Have you been seeing all the news about how real estate has been picked up by a lot of institutional investors on Wall Street and how they're buying up large swaths of property. Yeah. Do you think this will have like create another housing crisis or anything like that?
Oh yeah, you're right. BlackRock, I think, bought about $6 billion in single-family housing.
Right. And like it's kind of concerning because a regular family probably will not be able to outbid an investor or like
So
anybody like that.
so back in 2009, right? It wasn't just like it was kind of like a chain of events. So it started with brokers having this incentive to write a mortgage, and they get like a big bonus or commission from it, and they would give it to these families that were coming into the United States, just got their green card or permanent residence, right? And they wanted to buy a house, but they wouldn't really have, the financial
The
means to buy it.
credentials.
Right. And they would just give out these mortgages like without doing background checks or without doing, without them doing the proper ways of research and assessing a client to give them a mortgage. Right now, what you see is people have the credentials to buy a house, right? There's so many, and it's also a code effect, right? If you're living in New York and you've gone remote and your company's saying, and now they're not forcing you to come back, they're just giving you an option to work from home, or if you want to come to the office, you can come to the office. Companies are selling their offices, right? Many companies who have 10 offices in the city have closed and moved to only 2 offices and having them as collaboration spaces, right? Where you just come and have a meeting and you go on back to your house. So there's a huge demand driven by people. It's not, these loan sharks that are driving up demand. It's the people that actually have the means to buy the house. So I don't think there's going to be a crash like 2009. It's just the market is I do see a correction, but it's not going to be like a crash, right?
Okay. And then my second question was going to be, if this continues, do you think that the average individual would try to, like, it's probably going to be that most of the houses will be rental properties, and to recoup on investment, a lot of these rents will probably be pretty steep. Do you think people will stay in America and pay that rent, or will there be a diaspora of individuals leaving the States and heading to other countries for, well,
Probably not other countries, definitely other states, right?
Okay.
I mean, we're seeing it happening with Texas now, right? The Texas migration, the Idaho migration,
Yeah, like people going
where
to
people
Nevada
are moving
and
from
New Mexico.
and Las Vegas. So, those 3 cities have now popped because California has not done a great job. Their housing market is way too overpriced. Their gas prices are way too overpriced. Everything is way too overpriced. And, the government there has not really done a good job on helping the poor. So, why even pay 50% effective tax if nothing's really happening?
I see.
So, I don't really see us, moving to Ireland just because they have cheaper rents and less tax.
Right, right.
Probably some other Republican state will be next.
So like,
Okay.
We'll just take over that.
like even my parents were talking about like moving to like North Carolina or South Carolina, right? So
I see.
that's probably what people would be thinking, just moving out of their state to a different, to another state that has less of a housing market that's not much demanded, where you can find bigger houses for lower prices. And like Texas, like Shravan said, was a prime example. And now, because like there was just like this hype around Texas, now that's become this huge, climate price over there. So it just Texas will probably have a correction in their prices, because I know you guys probably heard about their power grid failures and things like that.
Yeah.
We even saw like what the winter season did to them. So
And now it's
that
summertime.
yeah, that definitely could have a big play in prices going down again. So everything that goes up will come down.
Let's go full circle back to Texas. One more rant before we move on. How is it legal for a utilities company to remotely change the temperature in your house? I just want to know how
Well,
that's
because
possible.
they're a private company. Texas kind of gave away.
They're a private company, but like,
It's managed by
one, why would people consent to that, first off.
Well,
And two,
I'm gonna be honest here, Chief. Like, I don't think a lot of people read the terms and conditions, and so
that is true.
that they could have easily paid. I haven't. I'm gonna be honest here. I haven't read into the situation. I know of it, but I haven't read in depth. So my hypothesis is that a lot of they're legally able to do so because they have it somewhere in the terms and condition where they say, hey, we can change this or do that. Obviously, it's very sketchy, but without any other place to go for electricity, you don't have much of a choice.
Okay.
So I've never heard about this. Okay, is it like where if you don't pay your water bill, they cut off your water? That type of control?
No,
or?
no.
No. This is to control the energy to make sure like blackouts don't happen. They're
Oh,
literally upping the temperature in your house.
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Yeah, then it should be on the person reading what the company has said in their product, right? Like terms and conditions.
Right,
I
but
guess,
if you don't
like,
have
you
much
can't
of a
really
choice,
use. Yeah.
you don't
Because
have
Texas is separate from everything else.
Mm-hmm. You don't get a choice in this.
Freedom. That's their thing.
It just
It
reminds me
doesn't
of
always
people
work.
with like Nest Control and like Alexa products in their home, and I mean Amazon, if they wanted to, they can control millions of homes based on the products that the people have. So that's
Mhm.
what came to my mind when you guys told me about this.
And speaking of Amazon, in our last podcast, we were talking about the new FTC chairman, Khan. I forgot her first name now, but she, or like the FTC's first, I guess, significant review is with the Amazon and MGM deal. Yeah, so they're
that's surprising.
reviewing that.
I remember you talking about her when you said she was going to be more stringent on,
Mhm.
these types of monopolies occurring. So it looks like that's pretty surprising. I didn't expect this.
Yeah, she started pretty fast.
Yep.
And then on the other hand, we have reports coming out of the FDA that I don't know if you guys remember the Biogen's approval of
Mhm.
their Alzheimer's drug.
I remember
Oh,
when the
yes,
stock went up
yes.
like 50% that day.
Yeah, that was really
I'm not-
good news.
Yeah,
They
I'm
had,
not gonna try and pronounce that drug's name.
Mhm.
It's just a handful. But what's coming out of the news in the FDA is that there's some workers that's saying that the data was not as accurate as was predicted, and in some situations, it should have not passed. So
That's-
very interesting.
Wow. So I mean, Biogen is a pretty credible company. It's a top healthcare company. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're workers, I don't think workers are gonna lie. So that's pretty surprising to see that workers are saying this. It's not really
But the-
wrong for like companies to, if they present the data to kind of like beautify it and in their graphs and
No,
stuff.
of course not.
But if they're gonna like
But
falsely,
I think the thing here to take away is it's the FDA, right? These are the same people who approved the vaccines. Emergency approval, by the way. So it sort of takes their credibility down, especially for the people who are still skeptical about the vaccine.
right?
Um,
Is it
now I'm-
cemented? Is there like an active investigation going in?
No. I mean, I'm assuming there's probably something internally happening, but it's not confirmed
Okay.
to the media, at least.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, if it's not like
Yeah.
confirmed, I don't think we can like really speak on it. But like if there was an
That
active
is true.
investigation going on, then we could. It could be some other company, bringing up rumors, and that's what we're talking about. So, but if it does end up, being the truth, then that's pretty shocking to have like a government agency approve this, right? So we can come
Mhm.
back to that when that happens.
all right. And then the last topic, the one I actually really wanted to discuss, but then we got way off topic, is Facebook and their plans to place ads in their Oculus VR headset.
Interesting. So that would
Yeah.
that would be like
God,
what?
I hated
So-
that decision.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Okay, well, first off, for the Oculus, because I actually looked into this because I was really interested in buying the Oculus Quest because it's an affordable VR headset. biggest turnoff is that you need to have an active Facebook account to use it, to sign in. So you can't make a fake Facebook account and use it. You have to have one that has recorded history. So at that point, you're either forced to basically make a very elaborate fake or use your own real account. And if you accidentally get banned by doing something dumb, you lose access to all of that, which obviously isn't good for people that have dumped a lot of money into their games. And then secondly, you're buying a product and you have to see ads on top of that. That seems really, really dumb.
So, is this like ads that would come up on everything, or is it for certain?
Yeah, it's in the games. So what happened in the past week is that Facebook announced this, and one of their ad revenue kind of guys, Blaston, I think that was the name. So that was the game they're going to put it on, some type of RPG third-person shooter, you know the drill. It's like COD, basically. And what happened was, people paid for that game. Like, with their money, they paid for that game. And they started blasting them, saying, why are you putting ads in something that we fully paid for? So then Blaston, the game itself, tweeted out saying, after listening to player feedback, we realized that Blaston isn't the best fit for this type of advertising test. Therefore, we're no longer planning to implement this test. And now what Facebook's doing is any free to download games, that's where they're starting to put the ads.
It's really scummy.
I thought it would be
I think it's scummy.
So, like, for example, you're watching a basketball game through an Oculus VR. Like, that's what NBA and Oculus are partnering up to do.
No, it would be very intrusive.
No way it will be like that. Yeah, it will be everywhere you go.
To pick a good example
so
of this,
just to clarify this ad, sorry, Vern, is it like
go ahead.
like a pop up that comes on the side, or is
Yeah,
it
so
completely
it's a pop-up
blocks
that
it?
comes up.
Okay.
And you have to click on the X. It's like,
It's
like
very-
you're doing it on your phone.
the whole point of VR is to be immersive. If you have something like that essentially goes up against the whole point of it. It seems very dumb, in my opinion. There was actually a similar backlash to this. If anybody remembers the whole Street Fighter debacle, where I don't remember the company behind Street Fighter, but they were trying to put ads on the fighting mats and on the character's body, like on the character's clothing. And you had a lot of people complaining about that because, well, they paid like a full $60 amount for a full AAA game, and now this company is now going back around and putting more ads into the game. That seems very scummy.
Hey, if my favorite large cap company is gonna make more money, I'm all for it.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's just not many people would be very interested in a game like that.
Yeah, it's Facebook at this point is kind of like is hitting its saturation point, and they're not able to get more users. They're not developing new platforms, so they're trying to milk out existing users, right? So Instagram with their ads, WhatsApp is coming up with new additions, and
I don't think so. I think Oculus is like something they're really
so they're trying to
invested in now.
they're trying to see if they can make money in anything possible at this point because their user growth has kind of like slowed down. So to create a new product, a new app or a service is going to cost so much in R&D, and you need a lot of genius engineers to develop it, right? To come up with the idea and everything. So I'm not a fan of this, but it makes sense for them to try to explore their try to explore means to bring money out of everything possible that they have. This might not be successful at all. They might stop it, or if it ends up proving to be a high profit margin, way to make business on Oculus, then they'll probably pursue it. I mean, 97% of the revenue is ads, so might as well try that and everything.
Now, one last thing. I'm going to read off what Facebook has said how they're going to collect data. And I want you to give me a ranking from 1 to 10. 1 being the least believable, and 10 being, yeah, I kind of believe Facebook. Alright, so this is what Facebook has said in terms of how they're going to collect data. So they've promised that the company would only be siphoning minimal bits of data from any ads beamed on the Oculus platform. So these could be metrics like whether you clicked on an ad or opted to close on it, for example, or how long you spent looking at an ad. Now the post promised that certain device data, like your movements, any audio you mic picks up, your height, weight, gender data that you provide won't be used for ad targeting. Now on a scale from 1 to 10, how believable is that?
With 1 being not
3.
believable.
Well, 1 being not believable, 10 being, yeah, I tototally believe them.
I'll go with 1, bro. That's straight cap. They're gonna collect every single data they can. Yeah.
Alright, Varun?
This is Facebook.
I'm saying a 3. I mean, like, obviously
Oh,
they won't
3.
go. Yeah. I wouldn't say they wouldn't go off the deep end. Deep end saying they would collect all your biometrics, everything. But they would definitely lie about what they're collecting. This is Facebook we're talking about here. They'll say that they're collecting certain things like that, but then they'll take that tiny little window you give them and then make a giant molehill out of it.
You know, do the Oculus like handles have a heartbeat sensor? Because if they do, they're
Definitely
going to collect those.
It has. It's if it wasn't backed by Facebook, it would be a very powerful VR machine. It would be better than the Valve Index for both budget and, well, overall usability.
Yeah. Is it like HTC Vive and like Oculus are the best, right? Or is Oculus the best?
Oculus is like known as the best.
Okay.
Oculus, and then the Index, and then probably the HTC.
Okay.
God, I hope Apple comes out with the product soon enough.
Speaking of Apple, there's like rumors of them creating like some type of glass that will have like a screen in it, which is
interesting.
Yeah, they have like car plans and like, everything's going on for them. So.
All right, Varun, any final thoughts? I think I cut you out there by accident.
No, I don't have any other thoughts, but I do appreciate
Cool.
you guys inviting me for this podcast. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Yeah, it's been great having you on, and it's been great for the viewers to listen in. Thank you all for listening in. If you're watching on Spotify, make sure to follow us and share with your friends, family, anyone, maybe the president, get us on his Twitter account. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, dislike the video, just do something so that we know you're watching. And we will see you guys next time.